And it's time to do 55 minutes of business right here on Business Incorporated. You're welcome to the program. Here's what we have for you on this episode of the program. Industrial action has been suspended in Nigeria only to allow for conversations on the request of the unions. And IATA Fuelis is a new one that is supposed to help consumption of jet fuel to be efficient for all users. And Iran Games waiting for the results to be announced after the election in South Africa. Good afternoon. Welcome to Business Incorporated. I'm Ini John Mekwa. This is where we start from the global space. Oil prices eased in early trade on Tuesday, extending their losses from the previous session when prices fell to their lowest in 4 months as investors worried about supply ticking up later in the year. We'll take a look at the numbers, and we see that it's red. Brent is down 0.3%, as well as WTI 0.3%. The drivers for this afternoon or for today is the extension of that voluntary cuts by OPEC Plus. That meeting was held on Sunday, and we see that they're going to sustain it. The possibility of supply coming back from October represents a stronger indication that extreme levels of market support by OPEC Plus may not last forever. So that's a major one driving oil prices at this time. We'll move over to the metal space and see what's happening with prices in the metal space. Gold prices, they inched down on Tuesday after rising 1% in the previous session as investors await U.S. jobs data, which is due later on this week, for clues on the Federal Reserve's interest rate trajectory. And then we look at the numbers that you see there, right there on your screen. We see gold is down 0.2% at $2,345.76. And then we also see that silver dropped also down 0.5% to $30.62, while palladium was up, gained right there. That's for palladium. At this time, it's gained 0.7% to settle. And data shows that U.S. manufacturing activity slowed for a second straight month in May, and construction spending went down unexpectedly for a second consecutive month in April. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York has said on Monday that underlying inflation pressures eased slightly in April, while bullion is considered an inflation hedge. Higher rates increase the opportunity cost of holding the non-yielding assets. We come to Nigeria now, where the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee has continued to share proposed reforms for Nigeria's fiscal policy. The committee is asking for transition from monthly to daily disbursement of allocations across the 3 tiers of government. This, they say, is in a bid to revamp the Federation Account Allocation Committee disbursement mechanism. The committee's chairman, Mr. Taiwo Idile, has also emphasized the need to modernize the current system by giving attention to the value-added tax.
Our analysis, we are proposing a reduction in the tax burden of low-income earners. First, to increase the exemption threshold from 30,000 naira today to much higher than that. We're waiting for them to finish the conversation on minimum wage. At a minimum, whatever the minimum wage is should be exempted from personal income tax. Then, we want to adjust the personal income tax band and rate so that people who earn maybe not more than 1 or 2 million a month can pay less tax. What magic do you want to perform as a country when you keep taxing everything that moves? People who are transporting goods alone, just food, some of them pay more than 20 different levies from one state to another. One truck driver said the budget, anytime he's transporting goods in Nigeria, the budget is 450,000 naira to pay those taxes. You know what will happen if we're carrying 2 bags of yam and you have to pay 450K as levies, most of them illegal taxes. What you do is when you get to where you're going, won't you share the money to the 2 bags of yam? And then we're surprised that poor people cannot afford yam anymore. This is exactly how we created the problem in the first place. In Nigeria, we have what we call produce tax. You are taxing people for what they have produced. We have wheelbarrow tax, bicycle tax. Wheelbarrow, we are taxing it. We have to stop.
A lot of work ahead, getting those reforms to become laws or executive orders, and then, to actually be implemented in the country. But let's go back to the biggest story in Nigeria this time, which is the suspension of that strike. While conversation goes on, the tripartite committee meeting with unions, the workers' union. But earlier today in Lagos, this is the site that a lot of us saw on our way to work. Filling stations seem to have been caught in that bog of the strike. So even though you see filling stations or petrol stations selling, dispensing, but there were long queues. I've reached out to our correspondents in other states, and it's not the same. This is just for Lagos. But we do hope that this will be cleared, especially since the strike has been suspended for now while we await the results of the conversation between the tripartite committee and the workers' union. And the core of that conversation ongoing now between the tripartite committee and the trade union is how much should the minimum wage be? There's also, of course, the requests of the unions to go back to the old electricity tariff, but a major part is the minimum wage. How much should it be? We had Mr. Ruwani put it, that's Mr. Bismarck Ruwani, Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, put it at 90. We had Dr. Mude Yusuf, the CEO of CPPE, putting it at about 100. But let's find out what it should be if we're talking about a living wage for workers in the country. And joining us to have this conversation is Mr. Michael Adeleye. He's a human capacity development professional. Joins us right here in the studio. Mr. Adeleye, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. So you did share what an average of what a family of 5 could spend or should be spending at this time. Yep. And you think that should be used to determine what a minimum wage would be.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and in recent times, we've seen there's been some changes to the value of the naira and inflation and things like that. I want to believe you captured those in your consideration of this template.
Yes, indeed, yeah, I did, yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at it. You said that this information is actually from Mr. Adeleye, not particularly his family, but of an average family of 5 in this country. So you did place breakfast at 75,000 naira. That's high, isn't it? Is that how much it costs right now to feed a family of 5? A
family of 5, yeah, absolutely, for a month. For a month. Yeah, for a month. So that's just breakfast, yeah.
That breakfast. What are some of the ingredients that you look at?
Okay. Basically, I'm basing this on a family of 5.
So, Mr. Ade, I think you should come this way, exactly, because the viewers would like to see your face also.
Right, okay.
Okay, so while you're referring to this, there's also a camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm basing this indices or statistic on a family of 5. That's a husband, the wife, and 3 kids.
Children.
And 3 children.
So we have them here.
Absolutely.
A husband, wife, and then 3 children. But this is rather high. What are the ingredients that you consider?
Right. This information here is just a family living a modest life, not even living a luxury, just a modest. Now, the family is going to be fed on what we call a 101, which is just breakfast and dinner. I'm not even talking about the lunch.
Yeah, so I see dinner is even cheaper at 30,000.
Yeah. Now, if you look at the breakfast, the family of 5. Now, we used to buy a loaf of bread, the slice for about 500 naira. Now, as we speak, it's about 1,500. Okay. Now, 1,500. They're going to have to use milk. The beverages, the chocolate drink, the sugar. A 120 meal of milk. The little one is about 400 naira. Okay, the sugar is involved. A sachet of water, the bag is about 500 naira now. They're going to have to use that. Then the cooking gas comes into being as well. Now, if you put that all together for every breakfast they have, I have the figures in here, which means they're going to have a sliced bread costs about 1,500. 120 ml of milk costs 400 naira. Then the sugar, water, cooking gas, to boil the water, drink or chocolate, 600 naira. Then in total, you have it 2,500. 2,500. That is just for the breakfast. Okay. Now 2,500 every single morning for 30 days. That is how you get that.
So that means I'm sure in the midst of all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, the bread obviously is a reality, and all of those ingredients.
That's just basic.
A change, yeah. There must have been a change in what makes up breakfast for some families in the country.
If you think about cornflakes, that's cereal, you can't even arrive at this figure. It's going to be about 2 or 3 times this figure. Because buying cornflakes, buying the cereals and other ones, is going to be more expensive. I'm just talking about basic, modest family, living on just a slice of bread, a loaf of bread for 5 family every single day. It will cost them every morning 2,500 to have breakfast in the morning. Times for the whole month, it will come to about 75,000 naira.
Now, how come the dinner is cheaper?
Now, the dinner, we're looking about because you're buying in bulk. You buy the gari, you buy the beans. Now, I base these statistics, obviously, I base it on just gari and beans, right? A paint bucket of beans, as we speak today, it used to be around about 2,300. As we speak, it's about 9,000 naira. Now, a gari used to be about 750 per that small bucket. That small bucket, 750. Now it's about 3,800. So if you buy 2 gari, which is going to cost you around about 4,000, you buy the other one, which is the beans, is about 18,000, plus all the cooking ingredients. Now you're going to have to use the peppers, tomatoes, and everything. It costs you about 20,000, okay, for 2 buckets of beans. Then for 8,000 for the gari and the ingredients. That's 30,000 for a month. So basically, for a house of 5 family, 2 small buckets of beans. I'm not even talking about other like semovita, plantain, and everything. I'm just saying basic beans and gari for a month. It will cost you that's household for 30,000 naira. Now.
You have airtime, you have school expenses.
You have clothing, you have accommodation. Now, that accommodation you're looking at there.
Because we don't pay monthly, mostly in Nigeria.
That's right, but on a monthly basis, for a modest family, in the cheapest environment, accommodation now for a family of 5 will cost you nothing less than 25,000. Then cost of transportation. Now, based on the husband alone making the money, going to work, we have 21 working days in a month. So minimum, assuming the guy is living not too far from his house, that's about 1,000 naira every single day. For 21 days, that will cost you 21,000. Then electricity, people were looking at that figure, 10,000. Now, I'm basing that on Bandi, which is the cheapest. The cheapest that you can get now in the country is Bandi, which will cost you minimum of about 10,000 naira. So if this is Bandi,
I'm sure you also have to include the cost for petrol or generator.
I'm just saying, I'm basing this on just a modest family. Like you don't have money for petrol, you don't have generator, but you can afford to pay, at least when you have power, maybe 4 or 5 hours a day to power your home. That will cost you about nothing less than 10,000 naira.
So with your proposal, with this picture, which obviously are estimates, you're thinking that a fair minimum wage should exceed 198,000 naira?
Absolutely. I mean, that is not even enough. If I put other miscellaneous in there. It's not because you're not talking about the school uniform, the shoes, the maintenance of the husband, the maintenance of the wife. Of course, she's a woman. She needs to get maintained, at least to the barest minimum. The husband goes to work every day. The clothing, the shoes, and everything I have to buy. So if you put all that together, it's going to be more than this. But I'm just saying, the government is saying to us, tighten your belt, try to manage. A modest family who wants to cut everything, there is not even social outing in here. Like somebody wants to go on social gathering, go out to perform some activity. That cut is not even there. This is just living modestly, feeding, and living in your home. Go to work,
I think the other side of the conversation is this is following the union, what the union is saying, the principle of economic realities.
Absolutely.
But also there's the principle of sustainability or affordability for those who would pay, even for employers of labor, both the private and the public sector, can they afford to pay every month more than 198,000 naira?
I love that question. The issue is this: we have the money. The problem we are having in this country of how to manage that money, it's money management. Now, the government, legislature are saying to everybody, you need to tighten your belt, you need to cut your cost. But are they doing the same thing? Are they cutting their cost? Now, if you look at the average, let me talk about the national, not even the subnational. The national, our legislators, the senators are earning roughly gross earning around about 28 million every single month. If you look about the House of Reps member, they earn around about 25, 26 million.
I'm sure you have heard a lot of conversations where they have denied all of that.
They're going to deny that, but okay, they have a salary. They have constituency allowance, which is meant to be spent for their constituency. That goes into their pocket. They have newspapers allowance.
You can't say for sure that goes into their pocket.
We still see constituency projects. In my constituency, I can't really tell what's going on in there, and that money goes into that person that represents our constituency. They have newspapers allowance. They have cook allowance. They have gardeners allowance. They have recess allowance. When you put all this together, like gross, look, you're talking about, they could deny how much they're earning. They're talking about that basic direct salary. If you put all the gross, all the entitlement they're actually earning, it's humongous. Now, if somebody is earning, I have some calculations in here. If somebody is earning 28 million gross a month, okay? We have 109 senators in this country, okay? We have 360 members, House of Reps in this country. Now, let's do some calculations, little calculations in here. 28 million. Talk to yourself, among yourself, you this legislators, and say, okay, let's give out. Everybody is going through this. We are all in this together. Let's give out 20% of what we earn, just 20%, because these guys have been pushed to the wall. They've cut down everything. The food that's going to be, inflation that's going to be taking all their earnings. The value of the money has gone down, depleted, and we can't. What's it called? The value of that money they spend, you can't even see what you buy with the money. So the issue is this: 20% of 28 million gives you 5.6 million. Multiplied by 12, that is in a year. Okay, it gives you around about 67.2 million. If you multiply that by 109 senators, it gives you 7.3 billion. Okay, coming down to the members of the House of Reps. House of Reps, right? Okay. They earn around about, let's just say 26 million every single month. 20% of that will give you 5.2 million. Multiply that by 12, it gives you 62.4 million. Then multiply by 360 members, it gives you 22.5 billion. Add that together, it gives you 29.8 billion. That is just...
So you think that this can be funded, a minimum wage that is more realistic can be funded by reducing if we all agree together that we are all in this together, let's just cut our expenses of risk. Look, you're telling everybody that the country, the economy is so tight, but you're spending humongous money to buy SUVs. You live in lavish houses, expensive living, and you can't expect something. Look, in my language, they say if somebody wants to sew a cloth for you, like you need a cloth, you first of all look
onto that person, what sort of clothes that person is putting on. Now, if you want me to actually cut on my expenses and live within or below average, then of course you have to do something as well. You're representing, we chose you, you're representing us. Do something over there. Then also, that money comes over into a treasury. Then also, you did mention about the private sector. That is going to cause a little bit of hardship on the private sector. But the government has to intervene. The government intervention on this is simply talking to every business owner how to cut their taxes. You could give tax holidays. You could cut on their corporation taxes, because it's not going to go for long. You have to put a time scale to it. Okay, let's say for the next 12 months. If you're paying for your corporation tax about 1 million, pay us around about 400,000. So you could use that money to pay your staff. Everybody has to be in it.
All right, Mr. Adeleye, thank you so much for your ideas. Conversations are going on now, so we do hope all of this sip into that. But thank you so much for coming, Mr. Michael Adeleye, Human Capital Development. All right, now let's take a break. When we come back, we'll head to the markets as well as other parts of the program right here on Business Incorporated. To stay with us. Welcome back to Watching Business Incorporated right here on Channels Television. We head to the markets now with Anita Edits.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ini.
Good afternoon, Anita.
Yeah, it's another day, second day of June, and of course, we're still talking about the strike, but the strike has not really affected the NGX.
It's been suspended, no?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. But as of yesterday when the strike began, the NGX traded, but unfortunately, it was a pullback from the 5 trading sessions, the 5 positive trading sessions that we had last week. So the market kicked off the month of June negative. So let's take a look at the board there. For intraday trading, is taking off with a hangover of that pullback that we saw, 0.18% close for Monday. But then at intraday, the market was down by 0.04% and is still changing in between bargain hunting and profit taking. So far, year-to-date performance is still positive, 32.56%. Now, that's for the Nigerian Stock Exchange. We saw so many profit taking on the likes of FBNH, Lafarge, Nigerian Breweries, United Bank for Africa, UBA, and Actiscore. So all of that are coming into play for the Nigerian stock market. For the South African stock market, it's also negative. We saw some mixed sentiment for the African market. So on the other side of the market, where the Egyptian Stock Exchange, EGX30, was almost 1% higher at intraday, and that number is still changing. While for the Kenyan Stock Exchange, it closed Monday in the green territory, 0.19% for Monday. Now, from the equities market, let's talk about the fixed income market, where we saw for the Treasury bills market for Monday, we saw bullish sentiment for Treasury bills, and of course, at the same time, for the bonds market was mixed. And that comes also on the day that the Debt Management Office opened the June edition of its monthly savings bond, which is targeted at lower investors or lower value investors, where with about 1,000 naira you can invest your money there. And at the same time, we also see the DMO issuing its third quarter calendar for the bonds market, where the outline issuances across various tenors and providing attractive opportunities for investors there. Now, let's talk to our fixed income analyst for today, Kola Komolafe, fixed income dealer with Access Bank, to give us more details about this and other expectations for the market. Thank you for joining us, Kola.
Thank you, Edith. I'm happy to be here today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Okay, so let's start first with the month of May, where we saw the MPC, the impact of that MPC announcement hiking the interest rate for a third time this year, and that affected the markets. Now, give us an overview of the fixed income market for May.
Okay, thank you, Edith. So you're right. We saw the MPC increase rates by 150 basis points, and then you have the MPR currently at 26.25%. So what we expected was a transfer mechanism to the fixed income space, and then the NCB auction after then, we didn't see that. We didn't see elevated rates as rates closed similarly where they closed at the last auction, but we saw that transfer mechanism on the OMO auction, where we saw rates kind of go up just a bit. So the last auction that we had, the OMO auction, rates closed at 22.34. And it's interesting to know that the CBN had on offer about 500 billion naira. We didn't see any subscription or any allocation on the short end. What we saw was on the long end, where I could say it was skewed largely to the long end, where 499 billion was allocated out of the 350 billion naira that was offered, and it closed at 22.34%. Even though it was a slight decline from the OMO auction preceding that closed at around 22.69. So we saw that but rates are kind of high, right? So just before I came on this show, there was another notification of an OMO auction that was to happen today, where the CBN is offering 300 billion across the standard maturities. That's the 91, the 182, and the 365-day paper. So we'll just see where that would close, but we expect that they would close around where the last one closed, where for the 1 year it closed at 23.34%. So we expect that yields will remain quite elevated.
Okay, so now that takes me to my second question, which is that the central bank will reissue a total of 1.56 trillion naira worth of NTB, and tomorrow there will be a primary market auction by the central bank. So now, what do you make of this, with being that that's the first treasury bills auction for the month of June?
Okay, yes. So the DMO released the calendar for the Q3, where, like you rightly said, there will be 1.56 trillion on offer over the next 3 months. That's for the Q3 2024. So we would expect. So we have an NTB auction tomorrow, where 212 billion is on offer across the standard maturities. So we expect that rates would close where they closed the last time, was slightly lower. If you recall, the market is in the repo. It opened with a repo of about 87 billion yesterday, and at the last auction for the 1 year paper, it closed at 20.69. So we don't think it will be too far off for the 1 year paper. That's at tomorrow's auction, but rates will still hover around that 20% level for the 1 year paper, and that's what we expect that would happen tomorrow.
Okay, Kola. So I think we'll keep it there and keep our eyes on that primary market auction to be carried out by the Central Bank of Nigeria. But we thank you so much for your time on our show.
Thank you, Edet.
That was Kola Komalafe, fixed income dealer with Access Bank. Now let's move over from Nigeria to Asia, to the Middle East, where we see negative sentiments permeating across the markets there. First, on our start point, which is the United Arab Emirates, where we see the Abu Dhabi as well as the Dubai FM both in the red, 0.16% and 0.25%. On the other side of the market, where we see Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Saudi Arabia, yesterday we were talking about that the IPO by Saudi Aramco, that's the state oil firm, which had propped the market. But this time we see the impact of profit taking on that market, pulling back the market's index, which is called the Tadawul, while the Qatari Stock Exchange, comfortably at more than 0.25% at intraday, but that number is still changing as we speak. And from there, we move over to the United States markets, where we see the Dow Jones Industrial Average as well as the two other averages, the S&P 500 as well as the Nasdaq in the red. That's the futures, and the move is coming after the Dow Jones had fallen more than 115 points, or just about 0.3%. On the first day of June, while the other two counters were modestly in the green for Monday. Now, for the United States, what is the market expecting? The market will be expecting a busy week of economic data, which is continuing today. First, we'll be having the jobs reopening and the factory order for the month of April, which is due at about 10 a.m. Eastern time, which is about 2:30 Nigerian time, as well as the key report for the week, which will be the jobs, the farms, the May farm report, May farm payroll, which is also called the jobs report, which will be out on Friday. So that's it for the United States market. So that's it at intraday for the market numbers.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anita.
Pleasure.
Let's head to London now. There's this story about an allegation against Standard Chartered Bank funding terrorism. We have Juliana joining us now. Hi, Juliana. Good afternoon. What's this about?
Good afternoon, Innie. These are pretty serious allegations, actually, that have been made by Standard Chartered, which, of course, is a British bank headquartered in London. But they've got very sprawling operations, most predominantly in emerging markets. So, of course, people in Africa, Asia, the Middle East will be familiar with the bank. It is a pretty complex, very lengthy case, but I'll give you the facts as I've seen them this morning. And this is all because of a New York court filing which has released or unearthed some of these documents that do suggest that the bank has been funding terrorism. In fact, there are hundreds of thousands of transactions that have totaled up to over $100 billion US, and it's been linked, these transactions, to US designated terrorist organizations. So we're talking about the likes of Hamas, Al Qaeda, and Hezbollah. Many of the transactions, according to the documents, have been linked to Iran. We know that for several years, Iran has been placed under pretty stringent sanctions by America. And according to the filings, if these transactions have been conducted by Standard Chartered, then indeed they have breached the US sanctions. Now, as I said, it's quite a complex case because it does go back several years, and it also actually involves two whistleblowers. So there are two former executives at Standard Chartered going by the name of Julian Knight and Robert Marcalusis. They have been working with US authorities to try and find out what exactly has happened with the case. Now, I think it's worth pointing out that Standard Chartered, they have released a statement this morning. They're refuting all of these allegations. In fact, they've gone as far as saying that the two whistleblowers who have obviously provided evidence for this case, they say that US authorities have already, on a previous investigation, tore shreds through their testimonies, basically deeming them as unfit witnesses. But alas, the case continues. And I think the reason why this is going to be a serious headache for Standard Chartered is because, unfortunately for them, they have previous. Now, in 2012, they paid US authorities $667 million US. This is because back then they were accused of carrying out transactions for extremist groups in Iran, Libya, and Sudan. Then a couple of years later, in 2019, they were fined $1.1 billion US. I believe this was a double case, so US authorities and UK authorities fining Standard Chartered over $1 billion US, and that was for carrying out Iranian transactions between 2008 and 2014. Now, this recent filing that's been brought up in a New York court, this is about over 500,000 transactions between 2008 and 2013, like I say, linked to terrorist organizations, and it's over $100 billion US worth of funding. So it's really interesting. On the one hand, you've got Standard Chartered saying that, these whistleblowers are totally uncredible. But then on the other hand, we have seen from previous cases that, Standard Chartered have been fined for doing this before. So pretty significant, especially with the way geopolitics is now. We are possibly at one of the dangerous places we have been in society for several years. So I think regulators are going to be taking this case incredibly seriously. And of course, we'll keep following it.
Yeah, Juliana, obviously, and as you said, sounds really complicated. But let's look at the markets now. What are the numbers looking like intraday?
Not great at intraday. The oil benchmark Brent crude is down. That's dragged down oil majors, BP and Shell with them. So the FTSE All Share at intraday is in the red. It's in the red by 0.68%, FTSE 100. The blue chip index also down by 0.61%. The FTSE 250 almost down by triple-digit figures at intraday. In the currencies market, the British pound is currently trading down against the US dollar by 0.38%, down 2 against the euro by 0.04%, and down against the Japanese yen by 1.12% in a.
Thank you so much, Juliana. All right, now, last week, Friday, we did bring you that report from FCCPC talking about food inflation in Nigeria and their efforts to get to the root of it. So we have their Lagos boss head to some major markets in Lagos. Today, we were unable to get the acting chairman to comment on that. That was supposed to have happened on Friday, but at least we have him joining us from our Abuja studio today, and we do appreciate your time, Dr. Adamu Abdullahi, Acting Executive Vice Chairman of FCCPC. Thank you for your time. We do know we had to steal you out of some meetings.
It is always my pleasure being here, and good afternoon, Nigerians.
So part of the finding from that meeting was the issue of insecurity being a major driver of high cost of food. At least that's what we got, from your Lagos representative. I wonder what you are going to do, or you have done with that information.
You see, of course, that's not within our purview, because issues of security, naturally, we can only report to government. We're all aware of this recent development in which some gunmen went to a farm and gunned down all the farmers there. And their complaint was that who even asked you to come to the farm in the first instance? We have given you notice not to come to the farm this year. So it's not a matter of paying ransom any longer. It's no longer a matter of paying for your security. It's now a matter of losing your life when you go to the farm. That's a very, very serious development, and I'm very positive that government is doing something very, very serious about it. The best we can do is, of course, give our information to the security agencies, which we have done. And that is the way to go about it. But beyond that, it's not only the issue of security that we uncovered when we went on this market investigations, this fact-finding mission that we are doing all over the country. Issue is there are real distortions in the market. Let's start with the conditions of the roads. Even though government, we know, is doing its very best, and the rainy season is upon us. And very soon, this issue of the flooding that we had last year, as we have already been warned again by NAMET, will come into being, and transporting these goods across the country may again become a problem. But more importantly, what we are really after are this issue of market associations. We now have food associations in the market, egg sellers, yam sellers, butchers, and these people knowingly or unknowingly sit down and fix prices. That is against the law. So we are telling market managements that they should call their associations to order. What we are doing at the moment is just advocacy. But once they refuse to do what they're supposed to do by breaking up these market associations, or at least the price fixing aspect of it, then we have to come in and do what we are supposed to do by apportioning sanctions.
All right, Dr. Abdullahi. Dr. Abdullahi, we're going to ask you to tell us some of those sanctions, in a bit, and also what consumers can do to protect themselves, or perhaps how they can reach out to you. But just before we go there, we have to speak to our DSTV viewers that we're heading to Abuja now, the Federal Capital Territory, where there's the commissioning of the full scope development of Arterial Road N20. Part of it was commissioned yesterday. Onex today continues. That's for our DSTV viewers. But for our other viewers, we keep on. Dr. Abdullahi, so we would like to know, what are some of those sanctions that, these sellers could face, and how do consumers get into the loop to ensure that their rights are protected, which is what FCCPC is all about?
Okay, some things have become norm in this country. You go to barb your hair and you find out that there is a notice, big notice at the barber shop that says to cut your hair, there's a price that's been fixed by the Barbers Association of Nigeria. Meanwhile, that is against the law, because you don't sit down as an association and fix prices. all we do is to make sure that there's a level playing field, and the cost of business to different service providers differs from place to place and from area to area, even in one town. So let's take Abuja, for instance, where we are now. If you go to Sokoro or Wuse to barb your hair, of course, the cost of the shop itself for the person that's renting that shop to establish a salon is on the high side. The band in which he pays the rate of his electricity is also on the high side. So if you go to Masaka or Karu to barb your hair, it will be a different rate, because in those instances, the cost of the shop as well as the rent and the band of electricity that they pay for is naturally on the lower side. So it follows that rates should be fixed by the owners of that shop based on what they put into their business. But that's not what is happening in our markets. And what we have found out is that these associations now sit down and agree that they block entrance into the market. So there's no free entry, and in the marketplace there should be free entry. You come in with your products into a market and sell. But when you come to the market with your products from, say, Taraba or Benue State and come to Karu Market to sell, you are told to either belong to an association or sell to the association, and of course the association now decides at what rate is going to sell to the consumers. That's not acceptable. So in breaking those things, what we're trying to do for now is advocacy, so that we call in the market managements, which we started with Masaka, and the chairman of the local government came by himself to sit down with us and discuss these issues and find lasting solutions. The thing is, it is no excuse if you don't know the law. But once you do something that's against the law, the punishment is as listed by the act that establishes the LCCPC. So we go by that act, and whenever we find anybody wanting, we charge them. Go to court or our tribunal, as the case may be, and the sanction will be meted out to those people.
All right, Dr. Adamo. I believe this is a case that we would have to follow up. Talking about the associations, and I do hope you will find time for us when we call you again to expatiate on, how to follow up with this association and price fixing. Dr. Adamo Abdullah is the acting executive vice chairman of FCCPC. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So I learned the president has arrived at the venue of that commissioning. So for our DSTV viewers, you're heading to the commissioning of the full-scope development of Arterial Road from Northern Pathway to Outer Northern Express and Onyx. That's in the Federal Capital Territory, while for our other platforms, we continue with the program. And we'll continue with South Africa, where South African assets are rebounding, and that's fueled by investor hopes that the country will emerge from the next 13 days of coalition talks with market-friendly governments. When the election has been going on there, the rand surged as much as 1.6% on Monday. That's the biggest one-day gain since December the 14th, after the ruling African National Congress failed to secure a majority for the very first time in 30 years. And now the International Air Transport Association, that's IATA, has announced the launch of an advanced analytics solution to optimize airline fuel consumption using aggregate and anonymized flight and fuel data. IATA Fuel is a robust analytical tool for airlines to make both strategic and operational decisions to optimize fuel consumption, reduce fuel costs, and improve environmental performance by enabling airlines to benchmark their fuel performance against aggregated industry data. And of course, this is one of the outcomes of the meeting ongoing at Dubai, where IATA is hosting. For commodities now, we talk about beans, a major form of protein. Some people call it cowpea, but it's a major source of protein. I wonder what has happened. Our first conversation, we saw what has happened to the price, or an idea of what has happened to the price. But now let's get a fuller picture of what has happened to that with Olasubomi Ali Balogun, an analyst with Financial Derivatives Company. Hi, Olasubomi, you're welcome to the program.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, so beans, like every other thing, obviously the price has increased. I wonder what that has done to demand for beans.
Well, the demand has increased as cowpea is a very proteinous resources, and it is very it is wanted globally. So right now we've seen the price move from 70,000 to 100,000, and most of the factors that have affected the price, as always, is one of the factors that have affected it is the export smuggling. We've seen a high demand from other countries, which they need cowpeas, and so there's been a lot of exports in and out of Nigeria, and we've also seen how exchange rate has caused the exports of the export smuggling. This has led to a lot. This has increased the export smuggling of cowpeas out of Nigeria. So it has increased the price of cowpeas in Nigeria, leading to a short supply. We've also seen that the prices of the fertilizers that they use for planting the cowpeas and has increased. We've seen that the practices that they take into place for cowpeas, this has become more strenuous as the pests tend to take over. Take over the plants, they spoil the cowpeas, the seedlings. So storage is also an issue. So these issues that farmers are facing have led to an increased price in cowpeas. So we tend.
All right, Olasubomi, obviously a whole lot of things. And unfortunately, since the price is surging, it would have been a good time for Nigeria to make some extra revenue if we were exporting. But the EU had already banned the importation of Nigerian cowpeas for a couple of years, I think since 2015. Thank you so much, analyst with Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Olasubomi Ali Balogun.
Thank you for having me.
Now let's head to the crypto space and see what's happening there with Ladi Williams.
Right, and exactly. Let's see what's happening with Davido. At this point.
Oh, we're back to Davido.
Yeah, the meme coin, and it's not been doing so well since it was launched. But it's red, on screen this afternoon. The crypto market, we're still seeing profit taking right now. But let's get a check on Davido's meme coin now. Let's see how the price is. So the all-time high, 0.003. It's less than a penny at this point. All-time low, we're at about 3 zeros, and we've seen the market cap lose most of its value since it was launched. So if you bought at the top, you're definitely down a lot, talking about Davido's meme coin at this time. But let's bring in Rume Ofina, financial market analyst. Hello, Rume.
30,000 naira.
Hello, Ladi. Good afternoon to you.
Yeah, so we're seeing Davido's coin there, all-time low, about 0.007. Talk to me about how you're seeing how it's played out so far.
The clear case of pump and dump is no longer something hidden. Everyone knows that right now. Something to move from $10,000, $10 million market cap to $2 million and more. It only suggests that it is premeditated and is a crime. And a lot of people are speaking to it, because a lot of persons actually FOMO'd. That is, they bought into it with the interest of making a lot of money, and they find out that they lost their money. In fact, it's all over Twitter. But when we want to wonder why all of this is like this, why would a superstar want to get themselves involved with something like this? It is not good. I think the authorities must have been aware of all of this happening, and necessary step is going to most likely take place because, like I said in the past, this is more like a floodgate that is being opened for bad actors that have huge influence and followership to do same in order to, yeah.
Okay, but does Davido being an American citizen put him at risk of the U.S. Securities and Exchange scrutiny? You know, with the way the coin is, how it's played out, you know, so far, it seems like a rug pull at this time.
Yes, I think the major risk for the advisors of Davido at this point in time, they should worry because the U.S. is not joking with things like this. The fact that he's an American citizen even make it so worse. He could be arrested if the citizens there that took part in such transactions, buying all of those meme coins. I even saw a video on TikTok at some point when I think America was advertising the charts, you know, before the dump on the price. You know, so if the complaint goes to the US SEC, for example, I think Davido might be issued a Wars notice, which might turn out to become a very huge problem for him. Most likely, he will be arrested.
Seeing to end this week now, seeing Bitcoin price, it's been in a range for a while now. But do you see some kind of breakout, you know, to the upside with the economic data we're seeing this week in the global market?
Ladi, the economic data that are coming out are still really strong, showing that the economy is still strong in the US and inflation is sticky. The stock is already, if you follow S&P 500, is showing signs, very huge signs of kind of downside, but not clear though. And you see some other movement upwards, like Nvidia and some other game stock also. So it might be that the market is actually gotten to its peak, and for the crypto market is heavily correlated with the traditional financial market, not like before where we can say, okay, the crypto market is on its own. If there's any shake-up in stocks right now, it's going to send crypto to terrible price downwards.
Right.
And yeah, we should be looking at the early 50s for a start for any reason. Yeah.
Okay, I guess correlation still continues with the crypto market and the traditional market in US. Thank you so much, Rumi Ofi.
Thank you, Ladi. It's my pleasure.
Right. So, yeah, there you have it. If you bought Davido's coin, you know, at the top.
I hope it's
down
wrong.
a lot,
they shouldn't arrest our Davido.
Yeah, because
I don't know if he's dual citizen, but he's a Nigerian first. So
fantastic. So
we'll carry placards.
Don't touch him, please.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ladi. Well, that's it on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Incorporated. We'll do it again tomorrow. God's grace. Remember, you can always go to our YouTube channel to watch the program again. But I'll give you a summary of the stock market reports tonight at 10. I'm John.